Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Eat, and welcome to the very last episode of 2024, which also concludes season 1 of Let's Eat. I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am for this past year, which is crazy to think that this has been something I've been doing for almost a year now. And I'm just so thankful for this platform. I went into this really not knowing what I was getting into, and it's become so much fun for me. It's become something I look forward to doing every single week. I've had so many amazing guests on the show. We've talked about sleep, we've talked about PMS, we've talked about alternative therapies, we've talked about herbalism, we've talked about living gluten-free and chronic disease, we've talked about mental health, we've talked about all of the things in wellness, and it has been so much fun. That's really the only words that come to mind when I think about this past year. It's just been so much fun. And I'm excited for 2025. I shared last week in my 2025 goals episode that I'm looking forward to expanding it, to growing it, to making it more of a prominent part of my business, whatever that looks like, just because I'm having so much fun doing it. It feels so organic and natural for me to be able to speak on topics in health and wellness at greater length and offer a level of transparency that maybe I don't do on social media. And it's not to say that I'm withholding my beliefs or my thoughts on social media, but this space allows me to open-endedly really share how I feel about health and wellness and different topics in health and wellness. And I feel as though social media is more short form content, whereas being on a podcast and having this platform, it allows me to really expand and go into greater depth and give more openly my opinions and my reflections and my analysis of different topics, whereas the attention span and the capacity, I think that's on Instagram or even TikTok or anything within the social media realm is just not there. This is the time and place to do that. So it's just been so much fun. How many times am I going to say that? It's been so much fun, and I love it, and I look forward to next year with more interviews, more guests, more topics. As I mentioned over the past few weeks, there will be a Let's Eat hiatus. So for the month of January, there will be no episodes until Tuesday, January 28th, which is where season 2 will officially kick off. So there will be a couple weeks of silence and recovery for me, and even just brainstorming and planning and getting, my ideas together for what will come in season 2. And then we will kick off officially on Tuesday, January 28th with season 2 of Let's Eat, and it's going to be better than ever, and I'm so excited. Secondly, I have definitely come down with some sort of sickness. I'm not totally sure what it is that's going on. I'm sure you could hear in my voice I'm a little congested. The past few days, I've just been fighting off something. My Oura ring has been telling me that I've been fighting something off. I feel it in my body. My brother was sick over Christmas. Now my mom is sick. There's a sickness going around work. So something's going on. I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm feeling a little bummed because I leave for vacation tomorrow. And I don't feel my best, and that's just always a bummer. And I swear by the fact that what I do on a daily basis as far as my nutrition and my supplements and the investment I make in my health over the course of the year is the insurance for, preventing sickness, or at the very least reducing the length, severity, and frequency with which I get sick, which in years past, I would get sick every couple weeks. I was always getting sick. You can go listen to one of my initial episodes all about that, how, because my gut health was such a mess, my immune system was shot and I was getting sick all the time. Luckily now I get sick very infrequently, maybe 1 to 2 times a year. And this is bad timing because I'm going away tomorrow and I have not gone away in a long while. So what what is my luck? What are the chances? But it's fine. I am taking time today to rest, to be sure I'm drinking a lot of fluids. I have some supplements on deck, approaching this with some of my herbal remedies, and I'll be okay. It'll be fine. I just get a little stressed out, I think, about navigating an airport and being in the germs of all of the humans at the airport, and just the stress of flying in and of itself. And then doing that while being sick is just a recipe for misery, in my personal opinion. But the destination will be well worth it. It's just about getting through the day of travel tomorrow. So that is why my voice is a little bit off today, but we're pushing through. I slept for 10 hours last night. I feel very well rested, and we're making the most of it. I can't change this, so I am accepting it, but I'm doing all that I can to take care of myself, to rest, to hydrate, and all of the, remedies that I can implement to help either with symptom management or to just give the body extra support in navigating the illness, and we'll be okay. We will get over this, and I will move on, and it'll be fine. So let's get into today's episode, all about New Year's resolutions, why they're so unsuccessful, and what can be done about that. Obviously, for today's episode, I'm going to be focusing a lot on health and wellness, but this can apply in any capacity. I think we know that New Year's resolutions have a reputation of being unsustainable. And I think we've all been there where we've set a New Year's resolution for ourselves, and at the beginning of the year, we're feeling really amped and we're feeling ready to rock and we're feeling really encouraged. And then a couple weeks in, things start to shift and we don't feel that way anymore, or we aren't perfectly aligned with them, and that gives us a reason to abandon ship entirely. I think that they say January 17th is the most common day for people to abandon ship on their resolutions, which is so fascinating that they even have that statistic. But we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions from a health perspective, why it's so common for people to fail, and then how you can be more successful, more sustainable moving into the new year. So, thank you for being here. I welcome you warmly to the table for the very last time in 2024, and let's eat. Welcome to Let's Eat. I'm your host, Emily, holistic health coach and self-proclaimed wellness enthusiast, here to meet you at the intersection of physical and mental health, the exact location where optimal wellness lies. This podcast is meant to explore all areas of mind and body wellness, designed to offer you the integrative knowledge, behavioral strategies, and mindset shifts necessary to uplevel your health and feel better today. We'll explore nutrition, sleep, movement, self-care and stress management, habits and routines, gut health, mental health, and more. I am so happy that you're here. Welcome to the table. Let's eat. So to get started, let's explore some New Year's resolution statistics. I feel like this is a good opportunity to just give you the facts. Let's talk about the facts around New Year's resolutions. So, 45% of Americans typically make New Year's resolutions each year. However, around 40% of people don't set any resolutions at all. 8% of people are successful in achieving their New Year's resolutions. Okay, let that sink in. 8%. And around 80% of resolutions fail by the second week of February. 38% of people set health and fitness related resolutions, 33% set self-improvement, 29% set financial goals, 25% set personal development goals. Lack of discipline and setting unrealistic goals are common reasons people fail to keep their resolutions, which I'll talk about. 70% of people report giving up on their resolutions by the end of January. People who share their resolutions with others or engage in social support networks are 10 times more likely to achieve their goals. Research indicates that about 1 in 4 people who make resolutions are successful in keeping at least some of their goals throughout the year. Studies have found that approximately 55% of people give up on their resolutions because they don't track their progress. Another study revealed that those who write down their resolutions are 42% more likely to achieve them. So you get the point. There's a lot of lack of success, lack of sustainability, And yet a lot of people do, in fact, set resolutions. Nearly 50% of the population set resolutions. And such a small amount of people actually succeed them. So when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I've always been a big fan. I love setting goals for myself. I have a lot of ambition, and it feels good to step into a new year with a new energy, with a new maybe mindset or a new focus. Now, I think about it too. I would likely do this same thing entering a new month or even just any time during the year. If I had a goal for myself, it wouldn't be something that I would reserve necessarily for 2025. I don't necessarily, or I guess not 2025 specifically, but just any new year at all. I don't necessarily need that January 1st energy to encourage me or to empower me to set goals for myself. But I think that's just because of the way that I'm wired and the way that I operate. Now, for a lot of people, which I understand, the start of a new year really does prompt them to make changes, especially coming off of the holiday. But I think what's problematic about this transition is how vast this divide is, or how much of a black and white it is, coming from a time of year that's typically loaded with sugar, indulgences, lesser sleep, lesser movement, and so forth, and then moving into January where suddenly we're supposed to be these, completely transformed individuals. So I want to first and foremost prompt that concept. Now, this has to do with health and wellness. I think, it might look a little differently potentially if we're looking at it through other resolutions, if there's other areas of your life that you want to focus on as far as resolutions go. But I would argue that a large percentage of individuals are focusing on a health, wellness, or personal improvement, self-development goal moving into the new year. Because even if you're starting a new hobby, that's personal development. You're financially getting your act in order. That's part of self-development and financial health. So a lot of categories fall under the realm of health and wellness. But for the sake of kind of entertaining this idea of how much of an extreme shift there is between what typically October, November, and December looks like, stepping into January, this is a big jump. Now, I don't want to generalize this, okay? Because there's probably a lot of individuals who maybe do stick to their health and wellness goals through October, November, and December. So I'm not trying to say that every single person kind of flies off the handle October, November, December, and the holidays, and then needs to get back on track, quote unquote, coming into January. But I do think that a large reason why people set their own health and wellness goals come the new year is because they're coming off of this 3-month, maybe even 6-month, whatever that might look like, rhythm where their health and wellness wasn't a priority, or maybe they were overindulging or they weren't moving or whatever the case is, and now they feel that this is their opportunity to make that change. And I'm not trying to say that that's not the case, but I do want to be sure we're cognizant of where our head goes, where that all or nothing, that extreme thinking can be problematic, where I've done X, Y, and Z for these past several months, and now I'm going to suddenly be this new person because the holidays are behind me, and now here's a new month, a new year, and everything's going to be different. And I think explaining it in that way, you can really see, okay, yeah, that does kind of sound like a little bit dramatic, a little bit extreme. Because how many of us say, I'll wait till January 1st, or I'll wait till Monday, and then we use that as an excuse then to say, okay, so then I have the freedom and the flexibility to do whatever I want over these next few days. But then January 1st is this hard stop, is this brand new me, is this, I have to completely change every single thing that I've been doing, whether it's nutritionally, through movement, through sleep, whatever the case is. And I would argue those extremes are what causes a lack of success, are what causes failure in our resolutions, because the expectation we put on ourselves to go from black to white does not allow us the room to be honest with ourselves about where we are when we get started. And that's going to be a big part of this conversation, is meeting yourself where you are in relation to the goal that you have for yourself. While this might not feel like this transformative, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to do it in all of these ways, it is going to be the most successful way for you to make a change. I'm telling you, even if going to the gym 7 times over the course of a week sounds much more life-changing than starting with just 3 times, you're going to see more consistency, more change by going 3 times for the entirety of the year in comparison to I'm going 7 times for these first couple weeks, and then on January 17th, we'll just use that date as an example, is the day that I decide this is too much, I can't do this, or maybe you've injured yourself, whatever the case is. So I hope that you are picking up what I'm putting down here, because I just want to encourage you and empower you to make changes in your health and in your life in 2025. That will never not be the case. I get up every single day with the hopes that I encourage one person to do something different for their health. You know that through the podcast, you know that through social media, that is my life mission. However, when it comes to January 1st and New Year's resolutions, there are strategy steps that you can take that you will see greater success, greater sustainability, and it goes completely against what we've been taught is what we should be doing come the new year. So the first order of business is just awareness. Awareness around the human tendency to want to go into that all or nothing, that perfectionistic thinking. I hear time and again from clients, I need to do things cold turkey, I'm a perfectionist, I am very all or nothing. And in those moments, I humanize that and I say, that is very human of you because it is so incredibly common. We want to always do our best. We want to go above and beyond. We want to go hard, go all or nothing. That's a very common human tendency. And it's also considered a cognitive distortion when we start to engage in the all or nothing thoughts, where I either need to be all in or I need to be doing nothing at all. Or if I don't get to the gym 7 days this week and I only get there 6, well, then I failed. What's the point? I know that's an extreme example. Or if I haven't eaten a healthy breakfast, then I have the excuse to go the rest of the day and eat whatever I want. Because, well, why bother? I've ruined the day already by having an unhealthy breakfast. So I'm going to choose whatever it is I want for the rest of the day, and that's justified. I want to call this into question and put this under a little bit of a microscope, if you will, as we are looking at this black and white expected transformation, as I mentioned, coming from the holidays and moving into the new year, having health and wellness goals, weight loss goals, whatever that might look like. I also want for us to be aware of the impact that this all or nothing perfectionistic thinking has on our success. If we are going into this new year and we're expecting ourselves to completely change our nutritional habits, our sleeping habits, our exercise habits, and fill in the blank, and completely uproot or overhaul our lives because suddenly we woke up on January 1st and now that's all going to be plausible for us, we are in for failure. We're in for failure. You are the same person December 31st as you'll be January 1st. Remind yourself of that. And that's why I've really been pushing this concept of new year, same you, better health. Because it's not suddenly that the clock strikes midnight, you're now going to be suddenly, completely motivated to completely change your health and change your life and all of these things. Yeah, that might be the energy that you feel over the first few days. You might feel that inspiration, but that is fleeting because realistically, you are going to be that same person that had trouble getting to the gym the latter half of 2024 or struggled in your relationship with sugar or whatever the case is. And this is not meant to discourage you. It's meant to give you some perspective about what you actually need to do in order to be successful. I think we have this illusion that suddenly moving into January, we'll just have no trouble. And I don't think that's the case. I really think there has to be a little bit more perspective and a little bit more light shed on the reality of the situation so that you can say, okay, I might want to go completely 180 right now and completely do everything differently than what I've been doing the past year, the past 6 months, maybe since the last time I set resolutions. Okay, maybe this is, February 2nd, you gave up on your resolutions from the year prior, and since then it's just been this, struggle for you from a health and wellness perspective. First and foremost, be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, acknowledge that's where you are. There's nothing wrong with that. Acknowledging where you are is one of the most powerful things we can do when we're getting started on a wellness journey. I'm telling you, being able to say, okay, yeah, I might want to make it to step 50. That is the goal. The goal is step 50. And right now I'm at step 1 or I'm at step 3 or wherever that might be. And it's okay that I still have to make it to step 4, to step 5, to step 6 to get to step 50. New Year's resolutions, however, are very much in the frame of mind that starting at step 3, tomorrow we should be at step 50. And I think you and I both know that given the research, given the statistics around common New Year's resolutions failing, right? Probably personal experiences. And I want to be sure that I emphasize, and I'm going to emphasize throughout this entire episode, I have been there. I have been there. I have been there. I have been the person that thought I was going to completely overhaul my life January 1st for years and years and years and years. And what ended up happening? I failed, along with the other X% of Americans that fail as well. And I have learned over the course of time how to be more realistic, obviously through the work I've done with clients. That too, has helped me cultivate my understanding of what is a successful way at approaching this. But I just want to remind you that being honest with yourself and giving yourself the space and the grace to be okay with where you're starting is going to be your greatest superpower in getting started. Because you can then assess what is the next step that I need to take from where I am in order to see movement in the goal that I'm trying to achieve. What is the 1%? What is the 1%? So, first two priorities. Acknowledge that black and white temptation to go from, the indulgences and the chaos of the holidays to trying to overhaul our lives from the 31st to the 1st as if it's going to be this seamless evolution. And then meet yourself where you are. Meet yourself where you are. Identify what that means. Identify what that looks like for you. And I'll also put in there, if you need support in doing this, if you need support in this process, I am here to support you. Like I said, I'd love to start offering goal setting calls because I love goals and I love talking about them. But especially from a health and wellness perspective, this is very much the energy of the work I do with clients when it's identifying where they are and being able to take an inch from that spot so that you can see sustainable change in the goal that you're trying to achieve. I also think that a big part of this desire to make a change and the haste that we expect from ourselves comes from, I just want to feel better. And I want to acknowledge and I give a lot of respect to that goal because I get it. That's a huge, huge part of embarking on a wellness journey is I just want to feel better because so many of us don't feel good, especially through the holidays. I mean, I'll even say this past week, being at my mom's, I had so much cheese. I had so much cheese. There was just cheese. I had cheese and crackers. I had buffalo chicken dip. Oh my God, I had so much cheese. And I have no regrets around it. But do I feel 100%? Did I feel 100%? Absolutely not. My digestion was off. I felt like I didn't have like a real solid serving of greens or even just like a solid meal. Like over the course of the week I did. But, it was out of my normal routine. I was eating foods that I wouldn't otherwise eat more regularly. And yeah, I came home on Thursday and I was like, oh my goodness, I just don't feel good. I don't feel myself. And so this is coming from experience because Friday, all I wanted was to get back to my rhythm, get back to my routine. So I think, yes, absolutely, we can want to feel good and we can want to feel better. And I think that even micro steps can help that, even going for a walk, even swapping your morning donut and frappuccino for, a protein-rich breakfast. Even these small changes can create wellness. These small changes can create a feeling good, right? So being patient with that too, because feeling good is on the other side of making these changes. And I think a lot a lot of that desire is fueled from, well, I just want to feel better, but wouldn't you rather feel better for a longer period of time and let that process unfold a little bit more organically instead of I'm pushing for just a couple weeks and trying so desperately to get to a place where I'm feeling better, but then I am unable to maintain that, and then I'm back to where I was, feeling lethargic, feeling sluggish, feeling whatever the case might be, right? Whatever it is that you're feeling. So keep that in mind too. Like, wanting to feel better is a very honorable goal. I think so many of us want to feel better. So many of us. But in order to get there, focus on the micro steps, because even the micro steps can help you feel better. And then also focus on a longer term feeling better, as opposed to, I need to do everything in my power to feel better right now, right here, right now, and then not being able to sustain that change. That's something really, really big to keep in mind. Another influence on our New Year's resolutions is past experiences and the choices that we've made or the resolutions we set for ourselves in the past may be influencing our mindset around our capability of our success or our potential moving into this new year. If weight loss has been our goal for the past 10 years, where we've started in the new year with the intention of losing weight and we failed, moving into 2025, there's going to be a lot of pre-existing beliefs about our capability and potentially our inability to succeed at this goal that might be underlying the goal itself. If I have been unsuccessful for 10 years, 20 years, however many years, at achieving this goal, and I'm going into this new year stating, yes, this is going to be the year, but yet my track record and my history says you cannot do this, you are not going to sustain this, you are not going to be successful at this. You have to look at those beliefs before you decide to take any kind of step, and this is where behavioral change meets mindset. We can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. I love that quote. I think that's such a powerful quote. And if we're going into the new year with expectations that this is going to be the year that I make the change that I'm looking to make, and yet I've tried this year after year after year, what do you think is going to happen? Why are you suddenly convinced that this is going to be the year that it's different? And I'm not trying to say that you won't be successful, right? That's not the case. None of this is a very generalized, none of this is a very blanket statement, message. None of that, because everyone's different and it's super individual. But I'm saying, just from what I understand, if we already have self-defeating beliefs about our capability going into the new year, we are counting ourselves out before we even get started. We are counting ourselves out before we even get started. So you have to be aware of what the mindset piece looks like in relation to these goals so that you can address that alongside the changes that you want to make. There's a lot of behavioral changes: drinking more water, eating X, Y, and Z, moving our bodies more, getting more sleep. These are all very simple, very basic, right? But there's a lot of those behavioral changes that sometimes are, necessary. Most cases are necessary if we're looking to make some sort of lifestyle change. But if we're not also looking at the thoughts that are saying, you're never going to do this, you haven't been successful in the past, you don't deserve this, you're not worthy, whatever the case is, those are going to sabotage our ability to be successful. That's just basic cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay, when we look at cognitive behavioral therapy and the orientation of that, it's about how our thoughts impact our emotions and impact our actions. So if we look at our cognitions, the initial cognition that we're having about making a change, and it's already defeating us, that's going to make us feel upset, that's going to make us feel anxious, it's going to make us feel stressed, it's going to make us feel whatever it is that we feel. And then our actions are going to be a byproduct of those cognitions and those emotions. And that's going to result in a sabotaged goal, because our thoughts preceding those behaviors are already telling us, yeah, you're not going to do this. This is not going to work out. You won't be successful. And I think it's important to also consider the fact that because our thoughts are automatic and because a lot of them are negative and a lot of them are repetitive, I think the statistic is 80% of them are negative and 90% of them are repetitive. I always get that mixed up. but I'm pretty sure that's the accurate statistic. A lot of them are not even thoughts that we consciously recognize that we're having. Let me say that again. A lot of them are not even thoughts that we're consciously recognizing that we're having. So consider that. Let's put it all together. If our thoughts create our actions, and majority of them are negative and repetitive, and even further, a lot of them are ones we don't even recognize we're having, what does that mean? Well, first and foremost, that means awareness is going to be your best tool here, bringing your attention to what are my thoughts saying and how are they impacting the choices I'm making. And then also, we are fighting an uphill battle here, my friends, because so many of the thoughts we have are negative, and so many of them are going to be self-defeating, especially when it comes to a weight loss wellness journey. Because if we've been unsuccessful in the past, our thoughts are going to remind us of that, and that's going to lead to the unfolding, the cascade of what I just mentioned. So, once again, awareness is the key to self-transformation. That is a quote I've said many a time on the podcast. Bringing your attention to the thoughts you're having around a potential change is going to be the best choice that you make moving into this new year so that you can be more intentional about responding to those thoughts differently. We can't necessarily change the thoughts. Thoughts are automatic and they're going to be irrational or rational whether we like it or not, but we can choose how we respond to them. So mindset is huge. Think about your past experiences. How are they dictating the choices that you're going to be making now? How are they going to be influencing the choices? And how do you need to address your current state of mind in order to generate more productive outcomes? End of sentence, period, drop the mic. I could end the episode here. Okay, you have to look at your mindset. You have to look at the thoughts. I'm telling you, this goes for anything, not just for New Year's resolutions, but it goes for anything. So please keep this in mind. The next problem that I find with resolutions is we're too short-term focused. We are looking for a quick result. We're looking for the quick fix. And if you didn't know, now you know, there is no quick fix in health. As I said before, there's a lot of things that you can be doing that will help you feel better in the immediate term, going for a walk, getting an extra hour of sleep, fill in the blank. But in order to see sustainable change and to feel sustainably better, you need to invest in the bigger picture. You need to invest in what do I want to see myself doing in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years? And so if that means I want to run a marathon, if in a year I want to be able to run a marathon, but right now I am only able to run a half a mile comfortably, you're not going to go out tomorrow and run a half marathon. You're not going to go out tomorrow and run, 20 miles. You're going to say, okay, well, where do I need to start? If I feel comfortably running a half a mile, give yourself the recognition because that's impressive. You can run a half a mile. Give yourself that. Celebrate that. It might sound so cheesy. I think the human tendency is to say, how am I going to run 26 miles? I can only run half a mile comfortably. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people who can't say that. And I'm not trying to say, shame on you. You should be proud of a half a mile, I'm not. But I think that's exactly where that negative tendency comes in, right? That negative bias of like, I can only run half a mile. That's pretty lousy. It's a glass half empty type of mentality. Instead, celebrate the fact that, I can run a half a mile and now I'm going to work towards running a full mile, and giving yourself that month or that 3-week period to say, okay, I'm going to run a half a mile and get comfortable doing that. Then I'm going to move up to 3/4 of a mile, and then I'm going to run a full mile. And then obviously, whatever a training program entails for preparing for a marathon. That's above my knowledge, because I probably will never be running a marathon because my knees would abandon me. They would give up on me for sure, because my knees, I did some harm to my knees in my teens and early 20s, and so now 4 miles is my limit. I would love to be able to run a marathon. I would love that, but that's not my area of skill. I'll leave that to my sister and my brother-in-law. They're big into running. Anyways, giving yourself the long-term focus in comparison to the short-term focus, like I'm going to lose 60 pounds in 3 weeks, We need to drop that. We need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look at what is realistic, what is healthy. Dropping 60 pounds in 3 weeks is not healthy. It's not. No matter what Nutrisystem program tries to tell you it is, no matter what green tea metabolism burner speeding up your fat burn pill that that sounded really educated. Whatever pill or capsule is going to do that for you, run the other way. Okay? This is not going to happen. Be realistic. I want to lose 60 pounds. Okay, how am I going to do that over the course of the next year? How am I going to do that? What are the steps I need to take from week to week, from day to day, in order to be more sustainable in that goal? And where do I start? This will hurt a lot of people's feelings. I'm telling you, I know it, because of course, in our minds, we want it to happen now. We want the change now. Well, no, I want it to happen sooner. So how do I get there faster? But you and I both know losing 60 pounds in 3 weeks is not enough time for you to completely change your relationship with movement, relationship with food. You're likely resorting to some extreme measures in order to make that change. And then what's going to happen a week later? You're back to the same nutritional habits. You're back to the same relationship with movement. And then you gain that weight back. Okay, so keep this in mind. The investment that you're making in the long-term picture, the long-term vision, is for the sake of sustainability and for the sake of avoiding regression or avoiding falling back to where you were. You know, I think in the immediate term, it feels like, oh, this feels tedious. This feels, this feels time consuming. This feels too slow. But I think what you're actually doing is investment in a change that's going to see years and years and years to follow, as opposed to I'm looking for a quick fix for me to only then get back to my square one a month later, 2 months later, and then to be back at the beginning again, if that makes sense. So even if you feel like investing in the longer term, bigger picture goal feels slow moving, the sustainability on the other side of it will continue for years to come, versus I'm focusing on the short term here, getting a short term quick fix result for me to just be back at square one again, whether it's 6 months later, whether it's next New Year's. And it's hopeful that you just continue to build on these resolutions from years to come, so that maybe next New Year's in 2026, you're just building on the foundation that you've built in 2025. And you're not back again at this same spot where you're just getting started again, or you're feeling like you're just recycling the goal that you had this past year to then just repeat the cycle again and again. If you're following me on that, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself and maybe going a little bit on tangents here. But the goal is that you're finding sustainability. That is the goal. That is the name of the game. And that's really where you're going to see results. That's really where you're going to feel better. That's really where you're going to change your life. You're going to change your life when you find something that's sustainable. That's what's most important here. So, focusing on not setting unrealistic expectations, beating yourself where you are, looking at your mindset and looking at your past experiences and how those dictate the actions that you take now, how your mindset needs to be married to the behavioral changes that you're making, and then keeping yourself from focusing too much on the short term and seeing the bigger picture, even if the steps that you're taking are less fast paced, or they're not as, they're not as profound as maybe somebody who's investing in just the short-term change. What you're getting as a result of that, the return on that investment, is long-term sustainability and long-term lifestyle change. And that is the goal. That is the ultimate goal. I want to be sure that I reiterate how much I'm cheering for you when it comes to setting any kind of goal for yourself, especially as it relates to health and wellness moving into the new year. You know how strongly I feel about all of us taking steps to investing in better health, both physical and mental health. And anything that you are doing to do that, any steps you're taking should be celebrated. Any steps. What I feel is causing us to be unsuccessful is we are setting the bar way too high. We're not acknowledging where we are realistically. We are engaging and falling victim to this all or nothing mentality. We are letting our perfectionism get in the way. And when we really are looking at making any kind of change from a lifestyle perspective, none of that really matters, because you can get started and fall a million times and continue to head in the proper direction if you are truly making a change for forever. If you are looking at any kind of change through the lens of this is a lifestyle change that I'm making, you can fall short and get back up. You can take a step back and take 3 steps forward. You can take as much time as you need to create a routine and find a rhythm that works for you. So I want to remind you of that, because it's not about I have to be perfect now that it's January 1st. It's not about I'm not letting myself have any room for error or for missing my workouts or whatever the case is. And we put so much pressure on ourselves. We put so much expectation on ourselves to be perfect, to never miss a day, to have, perfect meals all day long. And it's getting in our way. It's causing us to fail. It's causing us to be unsuccessful. So if you give yourself the flexibility to say, I have permission to continue to address this and to continue to reorient and to return and to, restart as it relates to my health and wellness, you are going to be miles ahead of the average person. So give yourself that flexibility, that freedom. I would say the only thing that this could potentially create is giving ourselves too much space and giving ourselves too much wiggle room or being too lax about it. There does require some discipline. That does require some self-accountability or even accountability. I'm here if you need accountability. So keep this in mind that, we don't want to be completely forgiving of ourselves. We have to always, recognize that there is a goal that we need to continue to keep in mind if we want to make a change. But I think we just, once again, go too far to the extreme where we beat ourselves up too much, and we need to find a happy medium. We need to find a space where we are holding ourselves accountable to the goals. We are holding ourselves accountable to the focuses that we have for the new year from a health and wellness angle, and also giving ourselves the grace when it's needed and the patience. That is a dialectic. When two opposites can exist at the same time, we can join them with and we're able to see that, I can work towards my goals and I can be patient with myself while doing so. I can be investing in my health and wellness and I can enjoy a slice of cake at so-and-so's birthday party. It's all about being patient, being flexible. And I know that this goes against the perfectionist, this cold turkey, all or nothing mentality that all of you are probably sitting there and saying, well, Emily, this doesn't work for me. But I assure you, once you find a rhythm, it will work for you. I assure you, the more that you start to lean into the things that make you feel good, as long as you're finding a rhythm in your relationship with movement, finding a balance in the midst of it all is going to be your greatest asset when making any kind of lifestyle change. It is the most sustainable. It is the most realistic. I'm telling you, no one ever was successful by being super restrictive, super avoidant, super stressful around hitting every workout and avoiding every piece of sugar and avoiding all these meals that are allegedly going to ruin my progress, right? No one is successful in doing that. I say that from experience. I say that from my experience with clients. No one is successful in doing that. And quite frankly, life is too short to live life that way. Life is too short. So be patient, be understanding, be forgiving. You can be your own worst enemy in this process. And that is that is exactly what we want to avoid. We want to be our best cheerleader. We want to be our greatest support. And ultimately, that is where you will find most success. That is where you'll find most success. So when it comes to your resolutions, I encourage you in a couple different ways. Meet yourself where you are and take an inch. Take some time journaling, reflecting, in meditation, on a walk, whatever that might look like, and start to think about, okay, where am I in relation to this goal? Am I at step 1? Am I at step 10? Where is the goal? Is it at step 1,000? For me, running a marathon would be at step a million. No, I'm just kidding. But probably step like 100,000 because I'm not a long distance runner and I definitely need some TLC in my joints and my knees to even consider running more than a couple miles. But where are you in relation to the goal? Give yourself that geographical location, and then where is the goal? What step is the goal at? And then work backwards or even work forwards, whatever works for you. Start to outline what are the steps that I need to take, the actionable steps, the day in, day out steps, the weekly steps that I need to take to work towards this goal. So start there. Unrealistic expectations, meet yourself where you are, look at what you're expecting from yourself. And it can be a very long-term delusional goal. Okay, it can be. Like for me, some of the goals that I set for myself for 2025, they're kind of delusional. I won't lie. But if I look at that delusional goal and then I break it down into micro steps, getting a podcast out from week to week consistently, that's not delusional. That's very doable. But that's going to contribute to the overarching goal of how many podcast downloads I want in 2025. So you see what I'm saying? It's about taking the larger goal and breaking it down into realistic steps for you to take that contribute to that larger goal. And it's all about meeting yourself in the space that you're at right in this moment. Instead of expecting from December 31st to January 1st, I'm going to suddenly become this ultra fit, health-focused person, if that's just not who you are right now, and that's okay. That's okay. Look at your past experiences. Consider how your cognitions, how your thoughts, cognitions is just a fancy word for thoughts, so you can just use them interchangeably. Consider how your thoughts are impacting your behavior and the actions you're taking. How are your past experiences determining your likelihood of success moving into this new year? And then don't focus on the short term. Focus on the long term. Look at it as a bigger overarching goal of what you want to do over the course of the year, who you want to become over the course of the year, as opposed to I want to lose X amount of pounds this fast and I'm going to do all of these crazy intensive things in order to do that. Start with looking at the bigger picture of the person that you want to be and shift your lens so that you can determine more actionable steps over the course of maybe the longer extent of time in comparison to who am I going to be on February 1st starting now on January 1st. And don't get me wrong, there can certainly be, goals that you set for yourself from month to month, but don't make them that I'm going to lose 60 pounds between now and February 1st because that is too much of an overarching goal, right? That is a broader goal. That is a larger goal that realistically will not be done successfully in that course of time. At least it won't be done in a healthy, sustainable way. And awareness. The overarching theme here is awareness, like I said in the beginning. Look at yourself and where is your headspace around this new year? And what is the expectation that you're putting forward for yourself as it relates to the goals that you have? From the holidays, from the past year, what does 2024 looked like for you in relation to the goals that you have for yourself in 2025? And give yourself that reality check. There's nothing wrong with that. I think going into the new year wanting better for yourself is the best thing that you can do. I want better for myself. I think everyone should want that, whatever that looks like for you specifically. However, going into the new year unrealistically and expecting that black and white jump, that's unfair to you. That is unfair to you. Okay, so if you need to sit with yourself and say, all right, yeah, maybe I was going into this new year a little bit above what I'm probably capable of achieving, even if you're feeling really ambitious, that's wonderful. And hold on to that. Cultivate that as often as you can because that will help you move right along. That's an important point to mention. Motivation is fleeting. You're not always going to feel motivated. And right now, the the energy of the new year is so motivating. I think that's why we set the bar so high, because we're feeling like, yes, it's a new year. Let's get to it. Let's get going. And that's wonderful. But I think realistically, and this is what we see moving into January, that motivation starts to subside and it starts to diminish. And because of that, we then start to kind of step away from the goals. We get back into the monotony of our day to day. Maybe that motivation that you were feeling at the beginning of the month no longer feels as strong. So being sure that you're recognizing that motivation will ebb and flow, and that's okay. But if you're in this for the long haul, if you're in this for the long game, that's healthy. That's okay. Because there are going to be some days where you don't have that motivation. There's going to be those days where it doesn't exist, and you either have to cultivate it for yourself or say, you know what, tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day, and I'll get up tomorrow and we'll see how things go. That's the beauty of having a lifelong investment in your health, is it is ongoing. It is just omnipresent. There's always going to be something that we can be doing to help support our health on a day-to-day basis. Some days we're going to be strong with our green juice, with our water, with our movement, with our this, that, and the other thing. And then the next day, it's just about getting up and getting through the day. And I want to remind you of that. And creating a sustainable lifestyle starts with all of these factors, New Year's or not. So I'm hopeful that this was helpful for you. I'm hopeful that it brought you some inspiration. I think that there's no better time than right now to invest in your health. You knew that was coming. Okay, you knew that was coming from me. But especially moving into the new year, if you have some goals for yourself, please consider all the things that I mentioned in this episode. I think there's plenty more that I could have expanded on, and I could have gotten really granular about it and broken down a lot of, additional concepts that may have been helpful. But I think that these are the biggest ones, is really just being able to sit with yourself and look inward at what are my past experiences, what are the expectations I'm setting for myself? What does the past 10 years look like in relation to resolutions? And how can I set myself up to be more successful, more sustainable, and feel better? What do I need to do to set myself up to feel better? That's ultimately the very best goal that we could set up for ourselves. So if you need support at all in this endeavor, you know where to find me. I am happy to sit with you, to call, to do whatever you need me to do to help support you in cultivating, creating some realistic goals for yourself moving into 2025. Or if you just need support from functional nutrition and holistic health, that is always an option. The details are in the show notes. But I wish you a wonderful and a healthy, happy new year. Make your wellness a priority this year. Put it on the forefront. We are nothing without our health. We are nothing without our wellness. Everything about life is impacted when we are not feeling well, when our health is compromised. So keep this in mind as you move into 2025. And I am so excited for season 2 of Let's Eat. So in the interim, be sure you catch up with all episodes that you maybe have missed. And as I've mentioned before, please let me know if there's any topics that you want me to cover moving into season 2. I am an open book when it comes to sharing on topics in health and wellness and planning out my agenda for 2025 for Let's Eat. So open to all and any recommendations, suggestions, requests. If you want a guest on the show, please let me know. I have some in mind as it is. I have some goal guests, I guess is the best way to put it. Guests that I would love to manifest having on the show. So maybe I can make that happen come the new year, but I wish you all nothing but health and happiness in 2025. I look forward to continuing to sharing with you and celebrating health with you on the podcast at the end of next month. And in the meantime, I wish you well.